replace the carpets, and your room would have been the least used for that week. When it comes back online, because it's the least used, it will then selectively always be the most used until it comes up online with all the others. Very simple but incredibly effective way of distributing that. And that's important.
And then along that line, if you want to stay your 52 nights, does it have to be in your room or could it be in any room?
If your room's free, you can go into it. If you give us enough warning, then you can make sure your room is free. However, if someone's staying in your room, then we'll put you in an equal room in another, an equal room or equal category. We'll just swap over the appliances. So for people who want to stay there, it's a good plus. We've got companies as well who do it for 52 free nights. So we've got this private bank, which is right next to one which is the Moorgate in the city, and they've got a number of rooms, so they can use the free nights. They want to use more than those free nights. For example, the one property fund we had has 90,000 people working for it. They can use more nights than, if they, let's say they stay in a hotel, they use more nights than they even have available from their room usage. But what they're going to do with those rooms is they're going to book them at peak times and they'll choose to use it cleverly. So there's different companies using for different reasons.
In a traditional hotel, you have like different type bedrooms and apartments, studio, but also location in terms of the sea view or not.
Yep.
How do you go about allocating these rooms so that certain owners don't have more privileges than others?
Really good question. The way the rooms are dissected into different categories is very much based upon that, so size, aspect, and just what can be appointed into that room. Okay, so then you have a slight categorisation within them. Yes, and the same factor then within those categories, so let's say a suite room, some may face out into the road, some may face out into the back. Now what happens is, first thing to consider is you are in London, so the sea view thing doesn't become such an issue, but it's still important and they want to look out into the square. But oddly enough, there's many people who want to come in to look out into the square, there's many people who want to come in and as quiet as it might be possible and to be in the back. And the other second side to it is these rooms work on London is currently at about 82% occupancy. So if you then start the statistical variation of least used, next used, and people who just come in and have absolutely no preference. So some chap could come in and request a certain room, for which they'll be giving them that room, but then that'll be the least used room for a while. So if you take it over a long enough period, there's no big discrepancy between that.
So if this question is answered,
sorry?
If you don't want to use the 50 nights, what happens?
Absolutely. It's taken from the assumption that you don't use your nights. Okay? So when you stay in your night for free, you won't be able to drive revenue from your room. Okay? So for example, if you hold it in a SIP, you're not allowed to have benefits in kind if you hold it in a pension. Okay? So you're not allowed to use your free nights. So subsequently, in our first hotel, a gentleman held it in a SIP, therefore couldn't use his nights, received, I think in the third year, received 8.2%. People who use their rooms a lot are about 7.5. So let's say take that point to get to the company realised that here they had a great opportunity, cost saving when they stay in their room, because they'll be spending those nights in the hotel next door cost them. But for people who are just have one as an individual investment, what we found is although they initially enter into this because they like the lifestyle idea, how many nights do you ever go out to the theatre in London? Once, twice, 3 times a year? Same thing with a hotel. How many nights do you stay in a hotel in London on the weekend? So we average about 9 nights per user. So although it initially starts off as a very exciting way for people to have a pay-at-terre approach, actually what we find is more and more people are just using it as another alternative to buy-to-let, or even to be part of their portfolio to diversify. Yep.
What is the occupancy you're looking at?
So I can jump around all the slides, and I can show when one of the property funds which are completed wants to do some work on. This is just why I'm on this. This is the slide. This is from the first hotel, which was running for 3 years. You can see the average returns. First year was returns on 5%. Actually, averaged 6.46%. In the second year, that's the minimum guarantee for the first year. That's the only guarantee we have to point that example. But it's the minimum guarantee which you have, and you see the upside of that. Now, the way you feel comfortable is that all these hotel rooms are red book valued by independent surveyors, and they look at the local hotels in the area, occupancy rates in London, and then they give that price on it. But for the first year, knowing there's a bit of a ramp up, we do give a minimum figure, which is the north side. But just to the example of 8.09, that was in the third year, which you see average right from the start of 7.1%. These are nets. These are after all contributions and all costs. Variations at 8.5, 8.5, 8.75 for people who didn't ever use their rooms. down to let's say 6.5. That guy's got 3 rooms and he's always nights in 1 room. Bit of an anomaly, but you can handle that on a 20-bedroom hotel. Okay. To answer your next question, they wanted to know stress testing. We sold our rooms at red book values in Bayswater. So Bayswater is quite a tourist area and it's got business clientele. So it's quite occupancy levels are quite consistent, in that area. There's much more of a mix. But the room rates are slightly lower because you don't get the business rates. We sell up on 78% occupancy. Okay, London average 82, 83, depends if Deloitte is right, whatever data you use. Now the one within the city we only sold at 71% occupancy level because that's a recognition that it's very full during the week, but absolutely they're almost empty at the weekend. Okay, but the average room rates are there higher. So back to the question. This property fund wanted to know, can we do some stress testing on our numbers and take, let's say, occupancy level down to 40%? And I thought before I do that, I'm going to look at TRI or Deloitte. These are figures which you, also use. Get the figures of the occupancy level going right there back to when the records began for TRI, which was 2000. The blue line indicates where the occupancy level is for that month. The gold line is the average occupancy for that year. Okay, this is 80%, 70% to be at the back. And you can sort of see the worst occupancy level going back to that period was in 2001, which was 75.84% in 2001. Which answers a very nice, interesting question: is how do hotels and things react to? It's a very simplified view, and I'm sure Joe will take it to a much deeper level. But how do they react to world events such as 9/11? And if I could challenge anyone to think of a more horrific example of what could really pull the hotel market apart in London than 9/11, and we still look at occupancy levels, in mid-75, it's quite a strong story. This white line. This is where my Barclays capital data became a statistic overlay. It's just the moving average, just to see where it fell out of bed. Interestingly, you see how each time something happens within London, which is becoming, it's the blitz mentality, we're sort of bouncing back. And unfortunately, for everyone who can't get into London, there's people who are stuck who can't get out.
And you can ask a question on that graph. And I should also say, anybody who can't see that, if you want me to dim the lights, I will, but I think that they just seem to go all the way off or back on. So just give it a shot if you want to. But there are a whole lot of other troughs there that are not sort of, that are actually almost equally deep in some cases.
This is the white line is the moving average, and this is a year. So you'll start to see that there's a natural trend of low at the end of Christmas, New Year,
right,
and then it peaks at just maybe summer periods, and peaks to low again.
So it's a natural cycle. That's right.
The white line is to demonstrate the natural cycle using those figures.
Okay.
Just going back to what you were saying earlier about individual rooms and investors owning individual rooms, does that mean that you could have 2 investors who own essentially identical rooms and use their rooms for the same number of nights each year that could potentially earn different returns?
Yeah, definitely.
How can you justify that?
What would happen though is the longer the sample period you take it for, this is just basic pure maths, the smaller the variable would be between the 2 rooms. Because it's quite literally, some guy could come in and stay and go rack rate, I know rack rate's the term you should use, and then some other chap could have someone in there for the whole period on a very strong corporate rate. The longer you stretch the sample period across, then the smaller the variation. And if you take it across even anything more than just 2 months, then it's absolutely negligible impact. Okay. There's going to be interesting things to cover. Let me just run you through. Maybe you dim just for this.
Sure.
I'll just run you through in numbers just how the model works, and I hope that spark a few more questions. Okay. This is how they're valued. Because the most simple thing we can drill down to in this is what you're buying here. You're buying an income stream. You're buying an income stream, what's lovely about it is it's in the hotel market, and people understand the hotel market, and people can read reports, for example, like Grant Thornton for the GLA wrote a report that the London hotel market is 2,500 beds underfunded till 2026 per annum, and that's excluding the Olympic Games. And that's just because of what London's all about, and just the very number of interests facets that London has to offer. So when you feel comfortable with the London hotel market, you feel comfortable with the location you've chosen. And one of the things I haven't touched upon yet here, what I will do is to talk about my financial partners, but talk about our hotel background as well, which I'd like to finish on, is we choose these locations based on where we as hoteliers and the experience of hoteliers would like to run this hotel. Because this one's in the city, this one's in Nest. So do you feel comfortable with owning a hotel within Bayswater, right next to the Paddington Heathrow Express, near the Paddington Basin, which can have 150,000 desks in there, and is only a third of the way